Welcome to Serenity Rising, Healing with Cancer. I'm Bron Watson, and I want to welcome you to not just a podcast, but to a community, a new way of seeing, feeling, and walking through the chaos of cancer. Hi friends, and welcome back to Serenity Rising. It's Bron here, and I'm really glad you're here today because this episode is one I've been turning over in my mind for a while. We've actually been speaking about it a few times, but I think it needs its own episode. I'm going to be talking about 3 small words that carry the weight of the world when you're living with cancer. How are you? Sounds simple, doesn't it? It sounds like the most ordinary questions, and before a diagnosis, it was. You'd say you're fine or good or not bad, and that would be that, and life would move on. But somewhere along the way, those 3 words became complicated. They became loaded. They became a question you had to prepare yourself to answer, even on the days when you had nothing left to prepare with. So today, we're going to unpack what is really happening when someone asks how you are. We're going to look at why so many of us default to fine when fine is the last thing we really are. And we're going to talk about what we can actually do about it, both the words we say to others and the permission we give ourselves. We want to name the experience. I want to start by describing a moment I know a lot of you will recognise. You're in the supermarket, or you're at the school gate, or you've bumped into a neighbour on the driveway, and someone you know, someone kind, someone who genuinely cares about you, stops and asks, "How are you?" And in that half nanosecond before you answer, something happens. There is this tiny internal calculation. How much time do we have? How much do I want to give away? What do I want to go into? What will happen if I really tell the truth? Will it make them uncomfortable? Will it make this moment heavy? Will I end up comforting them about my situation? And more often than not, you'll say, "I'm doing okay." Or, taking it one day at a time, and you smile and they look relieved and the moment passes. So let me share you a little bit of a story here. A couple of months ago, I ran into a friend. I'd known her for a long time. She's more like a colleague, really. And guess what she did? She asked me those 3 words. How are you? How are you, Bron? And I thought, okay, it's time for me to be brave. I'm going to speak my truth. And I spoke in a very beautiful way that I was not okay, but I was okay. This lady, she just looked at me and went, "Oh, that's good. Oh, and guess what? I'm going on a holiday and I'm doing this and I'm doing that." And to be honest, I was quite shocked because here I am finally bracing myself to speak my truth. And this is what happened. But what I learned in that moment was about expectation. What was I expecting in return for speaking my truth? And I could have gone either way in that moment. I could have gone down the victim track, which is, I knew it wasn't going to work. People don't care. They're not going to listen anyway. Or I could be the other person, which is the one that goes, "Bron, pat on the back. Well done, you. You spoke your truth for you." And that was the person I chose in that moment. So let's talk about that a little bit more. Would I have changed my answer now that I look back? I may have. But the thing is, there's the choice there, whether to speak the truth or to use the word, "Yeah, I'm great, I'm fine," but consciously are aware that that is a boundary between you and someone who may or not be able to cope with what you're about to say. Because in that moment, the choice to say fine, it's actually not a weakness. It's not dishonesty. It's one of the most human things you can do. Researchers describe it as emotional labor, the work of managing what we show to the world to protect both ourselves and the people around us. And when you're living through cancer, the emotional labor, it can be really enormous. Studies have consistently found that one of the primary reasons cancer patients downplay how they are really feeling is the fear of burdening the people they love. Oh, I get that. They don't want to worry their families. They don't want their children to see that they're frightened. They don't want to be the person who makes every gathering heavier just by walking into it. And I understand that instinct completely. I have lived inside it many, many times. Here's the thing though, and this is where I want to put on my nurse hat for just a moment because the research here is really important. When we consistently suppress what we are genuinely feeling, when we pack it down and seal it over with fine, there is a cost. It's a real and it's a measurable cost. Research into emotional suppression in cancer patients have found that people who routinely control the outward expression of their emotions report significantly higher levels of psychological distress than those who are able to express themselves, even partially or even imperfectly. The emotions do not go away when we push them down. They just tend to build up. Did you know that 4 in 10 cancer patients report worsening mental health? That's right, 40%. Right there from the research. Half of them never even receive appropriate psychological support. Not because they didn't want to, not because they didn't need it, because the system is under duress and it needs help too. There is also the isolation piece. When we consistently present as fine, the people around us can only respond to what we present, which means they often do not offer the kind of support we actually need because they can't see that we need it. The very protection we have, the very protection we are trying to provide for them ends up leaving us even more alone. I can remember when after the breast cancer diagnosis and active treatment ended, which lasted for about 9 months, might I add, I would say to my boys, if I'm okay, you're going to be okay. Now, there's a couple of things here. I would wear my favourite saying at the time, you don't know how strong you are until you have no choice, like a badge of honour. The thing that very saying means I am taking control of was not only of my own emotions without being true to myself, but not only that, I was taking control of how my kids were meant to feel. And years later, Tommy and Ollie came to me, my 2 younger boys, and shared with me that they would go to school terrified that when they got home, that their mummy was not going to be there. Now that broke my heart, and in hindsight is something I could have helped if I had known. They didn't want to worry me. After the second diagnosis, everything changed. The badge of honour came off, vulnerability and truth came in, and it meant I could be real. I would cry and feel the feels in front of my boys. And now they are resilient and strong, up-and-coming young men. Removing the sugarcoating was the best thing that I could have done. But with that said, I was doing the best I could with what I had at the time. And thank God now that I've got a little bit more wisdom, I know that speaking my truth fixes everything. Did you know that 4 in 10 cancer patients report worsening mental health? That's 40%. After the second diagnosis, everything changed. The badge of honour came off, vulnerability and the truth came in, and it meant I could be real. I could cry and feel whatever I needed to feel in front of my kids. And I just thank God that I now have some wisdom to know that speaking my truth fixes a lot of things. I also want to say something about staying positive piece here, because it is connected. One of the most common things people say to someone with cancer, almost always, with the best of intention, is stay positive, keep your chin up, you've got this. My Aunt Mary survived breast cancer and so can you. And I know those words come from love. I know that. But what they can inadvertently communicate is that our difficult feelings aren't really welcome, that the only acceptable version of us in that moment is the brave, resilient, fighting kind. It's actually called positive toxicity, and it's time it stopped. But again, people are doing the best they can with what they have. So it's up to us to bring about the awareness of what it's like on the other side, which leaves no room for the grieving and the scared version of you, the version that can't get off the couch and cries in the shower and then goes ahead and cancels everything. The version that is also real and also valid and also desperately needs somewhere to land. We want to bring those together by creating the awareness that it's okay and that not everything can be fixed in a single moment. So what do we actually do with this? Because I'm not suggesting we answer every "how are you" with a 10-minute emotional debrief at the supermarket checkout. That's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm inviting is something more gradual and more personal than that. The first thing is to give yourself permission to have a range of answers. Yep, do some planning here. You do not have to choose between fine and the full truth. There's a lot of territory in between. Things like, I'm having a rough week, but I am managing. Or, some days are better than others, and today is a some days day. Or even just, honestly, it's hard at the moment, and I appreciate you asking. Those answers are honest without being overwhelming. They leave the door open without flooding the room. The second thing to do is to identify one person who gets the real answer. Not everyone in your life needs to hold onto everything with you. But there is enormous value in having at least one person, a friend, a partner, a therapist, someone in a community like the Serenity Project, who knows how you actually are. Someone who you do not have to perform for, who can sit with you in the hard bits without needing you to wrap it up quickly. Research consistently shows that perceived social support, the sense that someone genuinely sees and understands what we're going through, is one of the strongest protective factors for psychological well-being in cancer patients. You don't need 100 people who understand. You just need one or two who really do get it. Now, the third thing is to notice what you are doing with your own feeling when no one is asking. Are you giving yourself space to feel what is real, or are you packing it away in there too, even if it's private, and wrapping it up in the Glad wrap? Because the how are you question we ask ourselves, the one we answer in the quiet moments, matters just as much as the one we answer to other people. Now, there's one way I do work through this. It's with a super simple method, and it starts with naming the emotion. What are you feeling? Name it. Keep it simple. This is where the Serenity cards are. This is the exact reason why I'm creating them. All 52, might I add. Emotions like overwhelm, anger, sadness, doubt, panic, distrust, insecurity, disconnection, loss, uncertainty, fear of the unknown, resistance, pain, blame, bitterness. The list goes on and on. What this does is it builds space between you and your emotion. This allows space for the next step in my little process, where we control the controllables. What are the things you can do for yourself right in the moment? What is out of your control right now? I then allow myself time to pause. And in that moment, I do one of my favorite sayings, and it's going to be the name of the book coming out, which is be where your feet are. Because then we can reflect on what's really going on, what's real, what's in our control, and what's not. So that's where we find the serenity now moment, where we have courage to change the things we can and to find the wisdom. And then the final step in this little process of mine is I then respond. I'm not reacting and I'm not fueling emotion with emotion. This keeps me real and it keeps me aligned to my own truth. Now give that a try because it works a treat. And in closing, being honest about how you are is not the same as giving up. It's not the opposite of resilience. If anything, it is what real resilience looks like. The capacity to know what is true for you, to feel it, to let someone else know without needing to be fixed or solved or told to look on the bright side. The next time someone asks you how you are, you get to choose your answer. You will always get to choose your answer. But I hope whatever you do choose, you also have somewhere and someone where the real answer gets to exist. That is what this community is for. That is why I am here as well. Now, thank you so much for spending this time with me. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear from you either in the community or over on our family's feedback link in the show notes. Now, if there's someone in your life who needs to hear that their real feelings are welcome, please send them this episode as well. Until next time, enjoy every moment where moments make memories and make every day count. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been great having you here. And what I would love you to do is leave a comment or ask a question using my fan link below this episode and on every episode that we post. I would love to hear your thoughts, your questions, and I'll get back to you. Have a great day and bye for now.